Hello Loopy Dudes, welcome back to my YouTube channel. My name is Loopy Guy 7 and I play Civilization 6. I have a couple videos on here, Let's Play, if you want to click it, probably in the cards if I remember to do that. But I'm here to talk to you about a topic in Civ 6 that was unknown to me for a while, and I realized it probably off YouTube, but I kind of want to explore it myself in this video. And that is the concept of 1. The zone of control, and 2. Sieging cities. Now, this is something that's just not blatantly obvious, except if you're reading your government cards. You look at Victor, the Castellan, or Castilian, as I like to call him, and you look at his things, and you're reading it. Increases garrison strength, plus combat 5, great, that's cool. Then you look at defensive logistics. City cannot be put under siege. You're new to Civ 6, which I assume you are because you're clicking on this, or just would like to learn. You're like, what the hell is that? I don't know what that means. That never happened to me. So, it may have happened, you just not notice because it doesn't scream it at you. It's just like a little thing right here, like the amenities. But we're going to show what it means to put a city under siege, what it does, as well as what units can or can't. So, one of the bigger things we have to look at is zone of control, like I mentioned. When you type zone of control, just basic concepts. Who reads the Civilpedia anyway? Come on. So, here it says, many combat units exert a zone of control, ZOC, influence over the tiles around them. Combat units that entered an enemy's ZOC must stop, regardless of any remaining movement points left. Units that have stopped by an enemy's ZOC have the option to attack if they are required. If they have the required movement to do so. Ranged and Bombard class units do not exert a ZOC. Cavalry units, as well as Naval Rider class, have the ability to ignore enemies' ZOC. Religious units exert ZOC against other religious units. Rivers block zone of control for all units. Now this is really interesting, because zone of control dictates around what the units I just said. I'm currently Russia. I'm playing a single player multiplayer. So again, as we can see, a zone of control is the units around the unit. Or the tiles around the unit, zone of control. So this warrior would exert a zone of control around the 6 hexagonal. This warrior would exert a zone of control over the 6 hexagonal tiles around it. Interesting. Cities are also prone to this, that we will see. So let's talk about putting a city under siege. So as Hungary, let's declare on Russia. Russia, you're going down, buddy. Declare a surprise war. We're just 2 people here, it's fine. We are now at war with Russia. Nice. So archers do not exert a zone of control as is said. So I have 3 city examples in Russia so we can see how zone of control works. We have one across the river, one with the water, but it's kind of an inland sea. And then one with what I think is the Outland Sea. So let's get our units into here. We are going to surround St. Petersburg, so we can see what's going on here. Cool. So as we can see, with the zone of control, let's look, Civilpedia, many combats exert a zone of control. Doesn't say anything about scouts, so we're going to see if this works. So this means around here, it's exerting a zone of control, except through river, so it cannot. So therefore, the city is not put under siege. Alrighty then, let's go. Can we? Not under siege yet. Perfect! So as we can see, we officially have St. Petersburg under siege. You're gonna be like, Loopy Guy, how can I tell? You see this little heart with the arrow through it? Or a line through it? That means St. Petersburg under siege. A city under siege will not heal. So you can attack it all day and it will not heal back up. Do we have something in the Civilpedia about this? Nope. So we don't see it. City. Siege. Under siege. So I can't really find it. So it's a little obscure. I tried. So this means city under siege. So the city will not heal when we attack it. Observe. I did 3, 3. Cool. We have a little damage here, so let's observe. What happens? As we can see, as St. Petersburg, we still have the same amount of health on both our fortifications, our wall, and the garrison health. So it will not heal up as we can see. So putting a city under siege is good for the fact that if you want a prolonged siege, it may not have the best units. As long as they don't die and exert their zone of control over the city, they won't heal. So knowing this, we will see what happens here. Now you see this unit with clearly 3 movement points can't move past this guy right here, because he's got to stop because of zone of control. So we can see unit zone of control here. The warrior, exerting his 6, but not over the rivers, prevents this unit from moving more than it can. It clearly has movement points too, but it cannot. So that's unit zone of control. So city zone of control, well, to zone of control via cities is to put it under siege, which is what we want to do. So always want to put a city under siege if you can, so your artillery can rain death upon it, and it won't heal up. But you're saying, Loopy, that's all well and good, but don't things preclude zone of control? Yes, the one thing is rivers. So let's look at this. Let's look at this scout right there. I hope this cursor is working. It's putting a zone of control around this 6, so we can just think of it as just these 2, and then 3. It's not going through the river, so this unit is only going to this tile. This unit, though, is going to this tile and this tile, which is why it's under siege. This unit is only going to this tile, and this unit is going to this tile and this tile. So if I move this scout in the next turn, we can see that the thing will still be under siege. So you don't need to surround it like you typically think you would. You can just safely ignore like half of it. So trying to get zone of control, trying to put cities under siege. So we are looking back hangry now. Now those took damage because we attacked. So, learning what we know, knowing what we know about zone of control as they exert around it, we can move these units out, or we can move certain units out. This is still under zone of control. This unit goes to these 2, this unit goes to that one, so that one's repeatus, but we needed it here. And this one goes to this one. So you can see here is perfect. In a city that does not have a mountain or a river, you only need 2 units placed at opposite ends to put it under a zone of control. With a river, gives you extra defense, so you need extra units. All well and good. See? So we can see under siege. It will tell you when you're under siege over here on the side. My apologies. St. Petersburg is under siege. Until opposing units do not have zone of control over the hexes around your city, it will not heal. So basically, it's a zone of control thing. Now, under our Civilpedia, it's telling us that ranged and bombard class units do not exert a zone of control. So let's see how that practices. So that means it won't exert around it, right? Oh, where's our archer? Perfect. We're moving our archer in to see if an archer can by itself do anything in regards to zone of control. So to better measure this, we're going to back that out, and we're going to see. So this unit right here could be exerting a zone of control here, so we're going to back it out over here. We still have a zone of control issue, so we're going to move this over here. Okay, we have our second zone of control example. Now, according to Civilpedia, let's go back. The Civilpedia has a zone of control adjacent, so it does not include mountains that we can see. So therefore, perfect. So this is how the zone of control is working here. So we got this chariot exerting zone of control around these tiles here, those 6. This warrior is going through these 6 here. This scout is going for these 6 here, but the river does not count. So that means this has no zone of control over it here until we go to this scout. This scout is exerting its zone of control around itself, which counts for this tile. So we can see zone of control taken. Shavir, Terver, whatever, is now under siege. Perfect. So we can see how zone of control works out. It's around it. And if we look, we lost our tooltip. We gotta go back to Russia for the tooltip. So if we look, we now have it under as a zone of control. Cool. Next example, we gotta go look at a coastal city. So I'm sending our units over there. So city under siege. Chevere is under siege. Unit opposing Until opposing units do not have zone of control all over the hexes around your city, it will not heal. So that means this scout, zone of control, is pushing out to this tile, which is around the city. So we have all the cities done. Cool, now we have all those tiles done. Let's build a wall here, neat. So now let's look back at Hungary. Cool, we're back at Hungary. It's losing money, but next turn I'll fix that. Cool. So now let's look. What else can we do with zone of control, Loopy? So we know the zone of control is already working here, so we can move that in. We have the zone of control. Let's look back at our capital. So we already proved that zone of control is around the city. So as long as we can zone of control each hex around the city, which means that if we start moving our scouts out here, we still have a zone of control around the city because this one is right here, 1. This one is right here, 2. This one is right here, 1. This one is 1 and 2. Still 1 and 2. We're still around the city. Now that leaves our archer unit. It appears like it's exerting a zone of control, which is curious. It's not exerting a zone of control around the river, which we deduced. This scout is going zone of control here, zone of control here. Right? Let's use map tags here. So this scout is there, there. This scout is exerting here, here. Okay. Well, these are not the best to see, but we can see. This scout is exerting. I don't even know where that one was. Oh, that scout. This scout, I'm deleting this one. This one is going here. Can I do grid lines? Alright, that may help. The grids may help here. Cool. So we can see we have these two here, and this scout, last but not least, zone of control here, and here. So knowing that we have the zone of controls all over the place, 1, 2, that one actually doesn't count right there, so we don't need to know that one, right? So we have zone of controls here, here, here. The archer is its own zone of control. If we back the archer out, it does not exert a zone of control, but it is blocking that, so it's just a single tile. So we can deduce range and bombard units will count only on the tile they're standing on, while other units, other typical melee units, exist a zone of control around it. Thus, even though we only have one unit next to St. Petersburg, we still have a total zone of control around the tiles around the city based off the zone of controls from each of our units. Now, realistically, are we still out of bombard range? Let's see what the St. Petersburg can do to attack us here. Let's fortify our units and heal. We still have Kazan. So Kazan is an interesting one. We're going to look at it here. We are to keep all of our scouts around here. We're going to send this back to Buda. Scout is chilling to challenge. So we have 2 cities under siege. Awesome. Let's go. Now, you're thinking, as the besieged, what can we do? So St. Petersburg has a couple options. It can still attack every one of these units up to about 2 out just based off a range unit attack. Right? So its initial hexagon plus every 2, the second row around it, it ignores the line of sight penalty, as far as I know. So you can be far away, but if it's able to range shot, you're still in jeopardy. So it's hard to keep under zone of control sometimes. So you always want to overbalance your units, right? But as we can see, we can have 2 full lines, and it's going to be super hard for cities to be fighting that siege, which is cool. So to review, right now, archers and range units count for their own tile, while melee units count around it. And as long as we capture a zone of control around the tiles of the city, a city is besieged and therefore unable to heal. Nice! We also acknowledge that mountains do not prohibit this as per the Civilpedia, but rivers do. One last thing we have to talk about is coastal cities. Now, coastal cities are cool because they're safer. Well, they're safer to a point until there's navy. So we discussed range units, we discussed melee units, and we discussed how the zone of control works in respects to St. Petersburg. Now, we gotta go over to Kazan here, because this is an interesting one. So, according to our checklist, this should be put under zone of control. Because we got 1, 2, 3, 4. Well, the tooltip explains to us this is not true, and it's because zone of control, rivers block zone of control. Rivers block zone of control as also does bodies of water. Now, if we look at Kazan, it is 6 tiles, right? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Technically, this one's going up. This one should be here and here. This one should be here and here. It should be under zone of control. It's not, because melee units do not exert zone of control over water, so it's rivers and water technically. So, unless there's a naval unit, like a naval melee unit, that would exert water zone of control, we cannot do this. So Kazan remains safe. Even if we overstack, because we clearly know we don't need them all, Kazan won't be put under siege until I have naval units over here exerting water zone of control. Now that's for oceans. What about inland seas, Loopy? Well, we'll take a look at that. So let's delete our map tags, because there's a lot and I don't like them. Perfect. So we figured out zone of control. It's still under zone of control. I just took the tax away. And as long as we control the zone around the city, so we don't need units next to the city, but around the city. Now let's go to Smolensk. Let's see if we can get that under a zone of control. As we can see, we ruined our zone of control around Tver, but we can bring it back because we hit it around the river. Nice. So Kazan is a no-go due to the ocean, and judging by what we learned, we should not be able to put Smolensk under a zone of control, but let's check it out. Let's test it, team. And as we can see, putting it under siege, I can attack St. Petersburg all day from range now, and it will not heal. It is still unable to heal. Neat. Just go there. Neat. So back to Hungary, and as we can still observe, our archer can hit St. Petersburg all day, and there's nothing he can do about it. Kazan is safe due to the ocean, and I have no naval units. See? Perfect. So, putting cities under siege helps you take cities if you're lacking some artillery to one-shot it, or you can drain artillery down for a couple turns, and it would work fine. Cool. So, Smolensk. As the player, there's a way to fix this siege without killing units, and that is just use our governor. Let's go. Let's assign Victor to St. Petersburg. Cool. When he establishes, that should break the siege due to his card. Now, when an embark land unit puts something under siege, that's the last thing we need to figure out as a team. Cool. So, Smolensk, at its current iteration, cannot be placed under siege, because zone of control for land units does not extend over sea. So it's effectively as good as a river. Even if we pile units all around it, it's still not working. So right now, Smolensk is unsiegeable. Unsiegeable! Oh, we can see that St. Petersburg is not under siege anymore, even though we haven't moved our units, and he's still surrounded. We can even re-surround them again. And that's because we put Victor the Castilian on St. Petersburg. So you can break a siege as a player by putting him there. Now, St. Petersburg is going to heal up. It's going to be a lot harder, especially in the early game, for people to attack without siege units. Nice. So we broke the siege. You can also break the siege by killing units around it, and that's fine. So St. Petersburg is going to heal up. Feels bad for us as Hungary. So see, it's back to being able to heal. The garrison is healed, and we compare outer wall defenses. Only if we hasn't been attacked for 3 turns. Interesting. Interesting little thing to exhibit. Now let's look at when Hungary gets shipbuilding. We can have land units embark. Now, will that help us put something under siege? Let's check it out. Alright, as we can see, right now we put our scout next to Smolensk in the water. It is now able to hit that tile for its zone of control. But is this a zone of control because it's exerting around, or is this a zone of control because we just hit that tile and it's just physically in that tile? So we gotta move it out one more. But right now, we broke the Smolensk zone of control issue by embarking our unit and putting them right next to it. Now, can this happen in Kazan? We're gonna need another unit to find out. So as we can see, with putting units on the water tiles itself, even though it's on extending a zone of control from land to sea or sea to land, being on the tile, it works like a ranged unit's zone of control ability, which is none. So in Smolensk, the test would be ranged units or melee units do not extend a zone of control. They only have a zone of control on the unit they're on, and so they work like ranged units then. And the same would probably be true as soon as I back that out, yes. So, we learned a lot of things in this video, but now let's recap. To put a city under siege, you have to control all the tiles around it for your zone of control. That means taking a melee unit and extending it out so you engulf the city. Alright, this can be done 2 things out or 1 thing out. Range units do not extend a zone of control, but can control the tile they sit in. Rivers block zone of control from melee units. Mountains do not block zone of control, so they're just a tile, so you can almost ignore them on the map entirely. Zone of control, the extension to zone of control on melee units does not go to ocean tiles, and vice versa. Zone of control from a melee unit in the water does not extend to zone of control, so it acts like a ranged unit. So if you have nothing in terms of boats, but want to put a coastal city under zone of control, you're going to need to surround it physically, not just zone of control. Inland seas count as a river in terms of melee zone of control does not extend on it, but you can put a city under siege if you just treat it like an archer and sit it next to it. And that is Siege Tactics in Civilization 6, Zone of Control Explained with a little experiment. I loved doing this video. It's super interesting to actually figure out. I did not know of sieging. I got that from another YouTuber. But I will say I want to perform this experiment and show 3 different scenarios which you're going to accomplish, probably in early game, of how to put a city under siege. In late game, you can just bomb them, so it really doesn't matter. They're going to heal up, but you're going to be able to attack so fast anyway, you're fine. But in early game, this is much more interesting to know, as if you want to attack a neighboring civilization. So, I hope you liked what you saw. If you have any other questions you'd like me to try to deep dive in to explain, I'd be more than happy to try. Please like, comment, and subscribe. Click on the cards, click on the little buttons, and have a very, very loopy day. Bye-bye.